What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego back with some more boxing. So I just watched the Lamont Peterson versus Dierry Jean fight. Good fight, and it was just all around a solid fight. I want to give you guys my post fight without further ado. So Lamont Peterson, I like him. I mean, obviously he has the black cloud over his head with the high testosterone levels. Maybe it's legit, maybe it's not. Looking past that, he's a likable guy. He has the underdog Rocky type story, and we like him. I think he looked good in this fight. I think there were spots where he made it more difficult and took probably unnecessary risks in the fight. But nonetheless, he did what he had to do, and he won a unanimous decision. So just a quick recap. I think Dierry Jean, I haven't seen much of him prior to this fight, but from what I heard, he was undefeated and he was supposed to be a brutal puncher. So after an upset like Lamont Peterson, and I don't know if you would say it's an upset because a lot of people thought Lamont Peterson would lose to Lucas Matisse, but I'm sure it's upsetting was what I'm referring to for Lamont Peterson to win. Good thing for Lamont Peterson, the fight was held at a catchweight with Lucas Matisse, so he didn't lose his belt, and they both were able to keep their titles. Since then, Lamont Peterson has defended his title, and Lucas Matisse has lost his title to Danny Garcia on the Mayweather Canelo undercard. So again, Lamont Peterson did some things in there that I really liked. There were some things that were a little bit spotty. Early on, Dierry Jean looked really athletic. Both fighters were in tremendous shape, and Dierry Jean was in shape because not necessarily Lamont Peterson has treacherous power, but he might have enough. He stopped people like Kendall Holt, and Kendall Holt was another puncher that Lamont Peterson had faced, and that was off of a long layoff, I think 15 months approximately, due to the testosterone ban or whatnot. So if you don't have the heart, he can stop you. He, like I said, he's no Gennady Golovkin, but he can wear you down with just pure work rate, volume. And Dierry Jean was in good shape because he was able to withstand. I don't think I learned so much about Dierry Jean. I would say he has heart, but he's not top shelf, world class, elite level fighter just from that one performance. If I had to base it off anything, I think he did absolutely nothing in the 11th and 12th round. You got to give credit to Lamont Peterson as well for making that so. Lamont Peterson, the things he did good was he had a snapping jab early on. He kind of got away from his jab, which was upsetting, and was taking some unnecessary risk in the middle rounds. But early on, he started with a crisp jab, just good fluid boxing, good movement. Towards the mid rounds, he got some confidence going, and I think round three was fireworks. Both fighters were landing big shots. Peterson was digging to the body, and I think that was Jean's best round, Dierry Jean's best round. So it was really tough to score. I would be okay with either fighter getting that round because it was that close. I think Lamont Peterson was potentially in danger with the uppercut in the third round. I seen that. Then I think in the fourth round he got back on track. He was more consistent, so I gave the round to Lamont Peterson. The fifth round was great for Peterson, a real confidence booster. He was making it a dogfight. He was crowding and smothering Dierry Jean and ripping to the body. He even threw in some showmanship by doing the bolo, the windmill, and he was trying to make a statement. The thing that I think he did wrong in the fight was if you're doing something that's working, never derive from the game plan. Always stick to the fucking game plan. Another thing, you have to know who you are as a fighter. Lamont Peterson has showed you time and time again, from Victor Ortiz to this fight, that he is a game opponent. He's tough, he's hard as nails, and he has heart. In the Victor Ortiz, it looked like he was going to get blown out of the water, and he was able to get back up off his ass and fight back to a draw. So the man has heart. You got to give him credit for that. And he even got up in the Lucas Matisse. He just wasn't capable of continuing the fight. So the man has heart, but one of his strong suits isn't devastating punching power. So never derive from the game plan and try to be who you're not. If you're a Brandon Rios and Margarito or somebody like that, and you want to stalk your opponent and take unnecessary risks because you have a hell of a chin, possibly. But Lamont Peterson, he has a good chin, I would say. He was taking some unnecessary risks, and he didn't really have the power to substantiate some of those risks. A lot of the Haitian fighters are just by and large tough, just tough. You know what I mean? Just tough guys to deal with. their upbringing to the culture. It's just something about certain fighters, like Argentinian fighters, I've noticed are really tough. I can name a lot off the top of my head. Haitian fighters are tough too. So you're not going to necessarily just knock this guy out. Plus, he looked like he was in tremendous shape. So the downside from Lamont Peterson's performance was I think he was taking just unnecessary chances and breaking away from what was working. That was using the jab, doubling the jab, tripling the jab. He was ripping to the body. Then some of the later rounds, maybe round 6, 7, 8-ish, he was kind of deriving from that plan. And I think those were the rounds, especially after a great round 5, where he should have been more consistent. He just needed to maintain, don't take unnecessary risks, keep mixing up your punches. I did like how he was defensive minded. It wasn't all offense. I seen him dodging and slipping punches. He used his footwork well, and he just showed you he was superior to a Dierry Jean. I think some of the things that he did, some of the flaws that I noticed, might not be good enough against a fighter like Danny Garcia, because Danny Garcia has a hell of a chin. He showed you that in the Lucas Matisse fight and the championship rounds of Zab Judah. So you're going to have to stick to boxing, stick to what works, and fight a smarter fight in spots, because Danny Garcia does have the power to stop you. One thing I do like about Lamont Peterson, aside from his heart, is he's the type of fighter that he will just grind you down and show you how bad he wants it, and that he's willing to work for it just through his tremendous work rate, his efforts. He almost always gets a E for effort, and in the sense of he's always game unless you actually physically take it out, and he can't continue. So I really like that about Lamont Peterson, and that he throws in some defense in there. And he even tried to entertain with the showboating. He knew he was in front of his hometown crowd. I think after the 9th round, Barry Hunter was a real G. He told Lamont Peterson exactly what I was thinking. He said, "You're making the fight harder than it needs to be." And again, it was because he was getting away from his jab, and Dierry Jean was able to put together some good punches in that round. But it got to the point where Dierry Jean needed a knockout to win, in my opinion. He didn't really show you much in the 11th round or the 12th round, probably from fatigue. Even though you can be in tremendous shape, it still takes a lot out of you to have a moderate puncher just constantly on top of you. So Lamont Peterson was just on top of Dierry Jean in a lot of the mid rounds, which is what I really like. Not a hell of a puncher, but he was cutting off the ring like he was one. It's kind of like if you go to a barbecue, you ever had a good ass plate and you're ready to eat at a barbecue. You got your ribs, you got your potato salad, you got chips, whatever, burgers, hot dogs, and there's a fly, and you shoot it with your hand like, fuck, I'm trying to eat, and the fly just keeps coming back, and you keep swatting at it, and somehow, some way, the fly keeps getting around your vicinity, circling your plate, and you're like, God, fuck, I just want to go inside and eat. And then you go inside to eat, and there's fucking flies in the house because someone left the fucking door open. But that's kind of what Lamont Peterson is. I don't know why I did that whole analogy just to tell you that Lamont Peterson is a fly. So, yeah, he's Jeff Goldblum. He's the fly. And he's kind of that pesky, you got to get this guy out of here or he's going to be a nuisance to you. And he just took it out of Dierry Jean. I think he did exactly what he was supposed to do. He had the more elite level fights, the fights with Victor Ortiz's and the Amir Khans and the bigger names, those bigger moments. So Dierry Jean, he could have let him steal the show and build a name off of you, and he didn't do that. He took that away from him. I think his early work was really what cemented the victory, just the beautiful jab. He landed some good punches, the body shot, and it ultimately just took it out of Dierry Jean, it was good to see that work rate. He takes it serious in terms of coming in shape and conditioning. And I look forward to seeing more Lamont Peterson fights. Maybe he'll fight the Herrera versus Danny Garcia winner if that fight is actually made. Maybe a Lucas Matisse rematch. However, once he starts moving up to the certified guys who have had the bigger fights, I think he has to fight better in spots. Overall, it was a good performance, a very solid performance by Lamont Peterson. Can't give him an A. I would give him a B or B plus based on the competition and based on the flaws and the unnecessary risks that I did see him take just going away from the game plan. But I would give him a solid B, maybe even a B plus just for being exciting and bouncing back, because some guys get knocked out, get TKO'd, and they're never the same. Lucien Bute, if you look at his last fight, I was like, who the fuck is this guy? Jean Pascal was not in danger really at any moment other than when he was trying to play possum or whatever and letting Lucian Bute corner him, just unload on him. So great performance by Lamont Peterson. I definitely give it a B, B plus. Again, I wouldn't give him a full A because I think some of the things that he did would not work against an elite level fighter, and ultimately that's what he should be looking for. Looking good, which he did do, but looking towards those big fights. And I think he made a huge statement with the performance against Dierry Jean, a guy that was undefeated, who's obviously in shape, obviously tough, who allegedly had power, and it was his IBF mandatory. So taking on a mandatory challenger that other people wouldn't take on, and he was off of a loss. Even though he was able to retain his belt, he was off of a loss. So good to see Lamont Peterson back in the mix. I think that excites the 140-pound division. I don't know how long Danny Garcia is going to stick around, but Lamont Peterson shows you he's a consistent player. His work rate, if you don't have the heart, you might get beat or out-hustled, outworked. So great job to Lamont Peterson. And also Barry Hunter. Like I said, I really enjoyed Barry Hunter's in-corner commentary and advice to Lamont Peterson. Just more or less keeping Lamont Peterson grounded. Obviously, you got the adrenaline. You're getting comfortable. You're getting cocky. But you don't want to make unnecessary mistakes because in boxing, one punch can change everything. And I like before the 12th round started how Barry Hunter had said, you can't get a home run in the last inning, right? Which is absolutely true. We've seen it time and time again. John Molina Jr. versus Mickey Bay, Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. versus Sergio Martinez, and he almost got him out of there. So it's nothing to play around. Boxing is serious business, and fuck it. I'm enjoying my motherfucking night. Let me know what you guys think. Lamont Peterson versus Dierry Jean. If you have had the chance to watch it, leave a comment. Let me know what's next for Lamont Peterson. All that good stuff. As always, hate, comment, or subscribe. Till next video, it's Ego signing off.